Welcome back. Yesterday afternoon, as the guilty verdict for former officer Derek Chauvin was announced, a black teenager was shot dead by police in Columbus, Ohio. Police say 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant was attempting to stab someone when the officer fired. Our TREVOR AULT is joining us live now from Columbus, where the mayor and police officials just held a press conference. Good afternoon, Trevor. So what is the latest there in Columbus?
Well, Terry, the police department and the mayor just played some more extended body camera footage from this deadly incident that happened yesterday afternoon as that Derek Chauvin verdict was unfolding. And it gave us a much more clear picture of how that event actually happened. We cannot play it for you in its entirety because it's very graphic and we have to edit it so it's okay for broadcast. But I can tell you that we saw the officer who fired the shot, who's now named Officer Nicholas Reardon, arrived in a vehicle by himself and watched as Ma'Khia Bryant, in police words, attempted to stab those two people in front of him very quickly after he got outside of the vehicle to happen. And him opening fire was seconds after he got out of his vehicle. And after that, we saw as Ma'Khia Bryant fell down bleeding into that vehicle, some of the citizens surrounding that officer accosting him, asking him why he had opened fire, and he briefly defended himself to them, saying that she had gone at another woman with a knife. We also saw some of the body camera footage from two of the other officers who were responding, Terry, one of them applying immediate first aid along with Officer Reardon, who fired those shots. Another was then pulling aside some of the witnesses after those shots had been fired. Having said that, beyond those body camera footage, those clips that have been released fairly early on, and in fact, incredibly early on, police have not been able to provide a lot of answers. And that's because right now the Bureau of Criminal Investigations is handling this to decide whether or not this officer acted criminally, whether or not he was following police department protocol. But either way, I asked the mayor of Columbus, who has been calling for a lot of police reform, who has declared this a tragedy because a 16-year-old girl's life was taken. I asked him whether he would push for reform and changes to prevent something like this happening, regardless of whether or not the officer acted appropriately. And this is what he told me.
The fact that we had a 16-year-old girl armed and involved with physical violence with other folks in that community, that's something for us to look in the mirror and to say, what are we doing or not doing? How can we better serve young people who are facing one of the greatest spikes in violence in this city and in cities across America? What else can we be doing?
Now, the mayor continued to tout the need for transparency, and specifically with body cameras, which he says he is championed, and he's pushing for even more of them for the police department. He is continuing to stress that need for incidents like this to have that footage, because as we know, Terry, this shooting happening right as we received the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case, these police-involved shootings are a long way from uncommon in the United States of America, Terry.
That is for sure. And this officer says, and the body camera video, as far as we can see, it appears to show that he was trying to protect another person from being stabbed. So what does that condition mean for use of force there? And what are activists who want police reform saying about that element?
So according to Ohio law, according to police policy, when deadly force is present in a circumstance, whether it's someone trying to apply deadly force at a police officer or at another person, that officer has the right to deploy deadly force themselves. And there isn't a step-by-step process of maybe firing a taser first. It's as soon as deadly force is present, the officer is within their right to use deadly force themselves. And so there are a lot of people who are reacting to this video who are saying it appears this officer tragically had to use deadly force in order to save another person. Having said that, a lot of activists are using this as another rallying cry for why there needs to be further police reform, because they're saying in the George Floyd death, which we now know was a murder at the hands of Derek Chauvin, you even heard from the prosecution that they said this was one person committing an act of murder. A lot of activists are saying if in these circumstances, in that presence of a 16-year-old girl swinging a knife, an officer can shoot and kill her, then that could just be considered state-sanctioned murder. And they are saying that is another reason why we need to see police reform. We saw a lot of people who were out protesting in Columbus. It's possible we could see more protesting tonight. It is very clear that despite the the release of these videos and the fact that they do provide a lot of transparency, it is not necessarily putting everyone at ease as to whether or not this shooting was necessary.
A tragic and difficult event. Trevor AULT in Columbus, Ohio, thanks for that report.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.